Hi guys, I hope you are well. So in this session, we are going to be discussing the questions for chapter 3 in your Biobooster booklet. Okay, all right. So I hope you can see the screen that I am projecting, that I am presenting. All right, so Biobooster discussion, chapter 3, selection and speciation. Okay, so before I start, I would just like to inform you that this chapter will contribute to about 6 marks out of the total 80 marks in your final exam question. Okay, all right. So to start, I would just like to remind you, okay, about the concept of speciation. Okay, so speciation is a process of formation of new species from pre-existing species through evolution. So that's the definition of speciation. It is a process of formation of new species through evolution. All right, so this is where I would like to make a link to the chapter that you have learned in the previous semester, which is chapter um, population genetics. Okay, all right, so where we learn about Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Do you remember that? Okay, we learned that a population is in equilibrium, or in other words, the population is not evolving if the population obeys all the 5 Hardy-Weinberg assumptions. All right, so large population size, no migration, no mutation, no selection, and also random mating. So if the population disobey any one of the assumptions, Hardy-Weinberg assumptions, the population now is no longer in equilibrium, or in other words, the population is now evolving, and we know that, okay, through evolutions, like a new species can arise via speciation. So that's how, okay, Hardy-Weinberg connect to speciation, all right? So anything that causing the population to disobey these 5 assumptions, okay, can make the population in equilibrium, come not in equilibrium, um, and the population will evolve and new species can arise. Okay. For example, okay, just for a quick example, like your genetic drift. Genetic drift occurs in a small population so quickly it has already kind of disobeyed the first rule of Hardy-Weinberg. So that's why your genetic drift is one of the factors, okay, that could lead to formation of speciation. Okay, so that's why your genetic drift is becomes one of the factor of speciation. All right, simply because it occur in a small population, quickly disobey the first rule. Okay, the first assumption of Hardy-Weinberg. All right, so let's begin discussing the first question in this booklet. Okay, all right, so figure 1 shows the 2 types of speciation. So we have factor A and factor B to define speciation. Okay, so as we have discussed earlier on, so speciation is a process of formation of new species from pre-existing species through evolution. So 1 mark. And identify factor A and factor B. So we know there are 4 factors in speciation. You have hybridization, you have reproductive isolation, you have genetic drift, as I have mentioned earlier on, and also adaptive radiation. So by assessing the diagram, we know that factor A is isolation, reproductive isolation, 1 mark, and factor B, whereby 2 parent species, okay, forming 1 new species, okay, is hybridization. So another 1 mark. Okay, all right. Question C, describe how factor A, reproductive isolation, results in speciation, and give 1 example of the factor. Okay, all right. Now we know that in isolation, meaning one population become isolated, okay, and forms 2 subpopulation. Okay, the formation of 2 subpopulation, okay, or in other words, the separation of the original population into 2 subpopulation can involve can involve geographical barrier, or does not involve geographical barrier. So we know that that's why we learn about 2 types of reproductive isolation. We have extrinsic isolation, where the population is separated into 2 subpopulations due to geographical barrier. Okay, for example, we have this, okay, antelope squirrels. Okay, so in the Grand Canyon, okay, so because of this ada lurah kat tengah-tengah ni, okay, Okay, so jadi yang squirrel dekat sebelah sini dengan squirrel dekat sebelah sini tak dapat lagi mating. Okay, padahal asalnya this is a one continuous land. Okay, so because of pergerakan bumi dan sebagainya, so jadi wujud lurah kat sini tiba-tiba. Okay, alright, so terpisahlah dua population tersebut. Okay, so jadi ini extrinsic isolation. So kalau dapat squirrel dekat sebelah sini dengan squirrel dekat sebelah sini. Okay, tak dapat mating. Okay, so they isolated from each other because of geographical barriers. So extrinsic isolation, and we have also learned about intrinsic isolation. Example of apple and photon magpie. Okay, so yang apple magpies akan bertelur dekat apple, akan cari pasangan dekat apple. Okay, tetapi awak punya photons magpie akan bertelur dekat photon, akan mencari pasangan dekat photon. Jadi dia tak berjumpa. Okay, so jadi masih lagi terpisah, masih lagi isolated from each other, but without geographical barrier. Okay, so that is intrinsic isolation. So anyway, so that's why the answer. Okay, so that's why the first answer of this question. Okay, a population is separated to form two subpopulations. Okay, with or without geographical barrier. Okay, so because we know, because we just discussed earlier on. Okay, that a population can be separated. Okay, can be isolated from each other to form two subpopulations with or without geographical barriers. That's why the with or without geographical barrier is being put in a bracket. So meaning you can say it, okay, or if you don't say it, it's fine. You still get the mark from saying a population is separated from two subpopulations. So that's the first mark. Okay, so when the when the population is separated to two subpopulations, okay, so yang belah kiri tak boleh jumpa belah kanan tak boleh jumpa belah kiri. So jadi tak boleh random mating. So meaning interruption in gene flow will occur. So that's the second mark. Okay, result in interrupted gene flow. Okay, which eventually prevent mating or development of viable and fertile offspring. Okay, so that's the last mark. Okay, for the explanation. Okay, and then give one example of the factors. So just now saya bagi dua example kan, antelope squirrels dekat Grand Canyon, and also apple and also photon magpie. Okay, alright. So itulah saya cakap tadi. Okay, so bila belah kiri tak boleh jumpa belah kanan tak boleh jumpa belah kiri, so jadi berlaku interruption and gene flow. So jadi the population no longer act as a single unit. So there are two separate units. So belah kiri tak boleh jumpa belah kanan tak boleh jumpa belah kiri. So jadi random mating can no longer happen. Okay, so that's how the interruption of gene flow, okay, disobey, okay, causing the population to disobey the Hardy-Weinberg assumptions. Okay, no random mating. Okay, all right. So that's how you get 4 marks there. All right, and then question D, besides factor A and factor B, state the two other factors of speciation. So we have discussed earlier on. Also, all right, so we have genetic drift and also adaptive radiations. All right, so 1 mark each. And then question E, besides factor, so question F, what will happen to a population if the allele and genotype frequencies keep on changing from one generation to the next? So we know, okay, that according to Hardy-Weinberg Equilibrium, okay, a population is in equilibrium or not evolving, okay, if the population obey the 5 assumptions. Okay, so if the population obey the 5 assumptions, so the allele frequency and genotype frequency remains the same from one generation to the next, and then to the next, and then to the next. That's why the population is not evolving. Okay, but okay, the question clearly states that in a population, the allele and genotype frequency keep changing from one generation to the next generation. So meaning, okay, so the population must have disobeyed at least one of the Hardy-Weinberg assumption. Okay, so that's why the allele and genotype frequency changing from one generation to the next. Okay, so we know that if a population disobey any of the Hardy-Weinberg assumptions, so the population is no longer in equilibrium, or in other words, the population will start to evolve, and we know through evolution, new species will arise, because that is the very definition of speciation. All right, so that's why there are 2 options given there. Okay, you can say the population will evolve, Okay, or you can say new species will form. Okay, so 1 mark. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. Okay, so the next question, question 2. Table 2 shows a series of data collected from a study on natural selection in Galapagos finches population at 3 different years. Okay, all right, so quickly, just by just by observing, okay, the numbers, you can tell, okay, quickly, what is the original shape of the curve, okay, and then what is the shape of the curve after several years, after natural selection has taken place. Okay, so very, very clear. Okay, all right, so what is meant by natural selection? So we know that natural selection is a process in which organisms with certain inherited characteristics are more likely to survive in an environment and reproduce compared to organism without those characteristics. Okay, all right. Example. Okay, so kita duduk dekat Sahara. Okay, kita duduk dekat Gurun Sahara. Very, very hot, high ataupun intense sun exposure. Okay, so in human we have variation. Okay, banyaklah variation yang kita ada. Okay, banyak variation yang kita ada, ketinggian, berat. Okay, one of the variation that we have is skin color. Okay, so this skin color, okay, the presence of pigment in our skin, okay, is very important, very significant. It's very significant when I'm telling you about this story about Gurun Sahara to help you understand selection. Okay, natural selection. All right, so okay, so in a population of human, there is variation in terms of skin color. Okay, so there is light skin individuals. We have intermediate colored skin individual, and then we have dark skin individual. Okay, so if in Sahara, okay, of course we know that dark skin individual, okay, will be beneficial. Okay, so that trait, okay, having a dark skin is beneficial, okay, compared to having the trait of having a lighter skin. All right, so because lighter skin people, okay, cannot be exposed to too much sun, they will start get burned. Okay, they was okay, and then they get skin cancer. Okay, so they have less chance to survive. So therefore, if they have less chance to survive, okay, they have less chance to reproduce and pass down their light skin gene to the next generation. Okay, compared to the dark skin individual who can survive. Okay, so if they can survive, they can reproduce. If they can reproduce, they will be the one who pass the dark color skin allele to the next generation. So they have a better reproductive success compared to the light skin individual. So that's what it's meant by natural selection. Okay, so by having a certain inherited characteristics enable that person to survive better in the environment and have higher reproductive success. Okay, compared to those who doesn't have that inherited traits. Okay, all right. So that's natural selection. Okay, so when it comes to natural selection, okay, the word that usually used, okay, adalah better adapted kalau punya natural selection. Okay, all right. So that's the first answer, the first option. Okay, you can also use the second option, okay, but still get the same mark. Differential success in the reproduction, okay, of different phenotypes. Sudah saya kata ni, okay, yang gelap ada better reproductive success compared to yang pale skin. Gitulah. Alright, so differential success in the reproduction of different phenotypes, okay, resulting from the interaction between the organism and the environment lah. Okay, all right. So settle that question. Okay, so you have two options. You can choose either one, but still get 1 mark. Okay, but please make sure that you understand the concept. Okay, all right. Jangan main tanda saja. Okay, so let's have a look at question B. Name the type of natural selection shown in table 2. So we can quickly, okay, just by looking at the numbers, we can quickly know that this is a disruptive selection. So the type of selection is disruptive selection, 1 mark. And we have to explain why that this is a disruptive selection, because the selection favors both of the extreme phenotypes, 1 mark, and then the selection is against the intermediate phenotype. Okay, 1 mark. Or intermediate phenotype is eliminated. Same thing. Okay. All right. So 3 marks. Okay. So let's have a look at question C. Sketch. Okay. Sketch a graph to show the growth of finches population before and after selection. Okay. Again, just by looking at your numbers, you know that before selection happened. Okay. The graph is bell-shaped graph. Okay, or normal distribution curve. Okay, so that's this is the answer. Okay, all right. And then we know that after selection, okay, in 2006, okay, so individual with both extreme phenotype increase, but individual in the intermediate phenotype decrease. Okay, compared to the original lah. Okay, all right. So this is the shape of the graph. Okay, so how do we mark this question? Okay, all right. So the first thing that we will look at the shape of the graph. Okay, so if the shape of both graph is correct, okay, before is normal distribution curve, okay, and after is this, okay, you will be awarded 1 mark. Okay, kena dua-dua betul baru dapat 1 mark. Okay, all right, and then we will look at the axis of both graphs. Okay, pastikan kedua-dua graph awak, the axis has been labeled. Okay, so do not leave, okay, when you are asked to sketch a graph, do not leave the axis empty. Alright, so these are the axis lah. Okay, so pastikan ada axis dilabelkan. So kedua-dua graph, kedua-dua axis telah dilabelkan, then yes, you will be awarded another 1 mark. Okay, so in total, you'll be given 2 marks. Okay, so the next question, state the other 2 types of natural selection. We know there are 3 types of natural selection. We have already mentioned disruptive selection. Okay, so there are 2 other types, which is stabilizing selection, 1 mark, and also stabilizing, and also directional selection, 1 mark. Okay, so let's move on to the last question. The last question said, explain how the different traits have caused the selection observed in table 2. So this is table 2. Okay, so we have 3 traits. Dominant big size, okay, that represent big, big size. Intermediate big size, intermediate lah kan? And we have recessive big size, represent small big size. Okay, all right. So how these different traits, okay, causing this selection to happen. Why? After selection happen, the 2 extreme increase, okay, the intermediate size big, the number of individual with intermediate size big decrease. Okay, all right. So we know from learning about disruptive selection about the big shape and size of finches in Galapagos Island is we know that large finches with large beak, okay, are more specialized, or kalau natural selection are better adapted, okay, more specialized or better adapted ataupun can efficiently feed, okay, can efficiently eat, okay, big and hard seed, okay. So itu sebab tu dia dia ni lah sebab dapat makan kan, so jadi dia survive lah. Okay, so dia akan ada higher reproductive rate. Okay, and finches with smaller beak, finches with small beak are more adapted ataupun more efficient, okay, at eating small and soft seed. Okay, alright. But yang intermediate tu, okay, so the finches with intermediate size beak, dia nak makan biji benih yang besar dan juga keras, tetapi dia akan kalah dengan competition dengan yang burung finches yang berparuh besar. Why? Because the finches with large beak are more adapted atau more specialized, okay, can eat the big seed efficiently. Okay, so that's why the intermediate size beak, if they want to eat the large seed, they lost in competition with the large size big finches. Okay, so now they want to eat the small and soft seeds. They will also lose, okay, in the competition with finches with small beak, because finches with small beak are more specialized, are better adapted at eating soft and small seeds. Okay, so how do you answer this question? Okay, so the first mark, finches with large beak are able to eat hard and big seed more efficiently. Okay, you can also use other words yang saya cakap tadi, better adapted. Okay. Meanwhile, finches with small beak are able to eat soft and fine seed more efficiently. Okay. All right. Therefore, finches with intermediate beak size lose in the competition. So this is how you explain why dua yang extreme naik and then why intermediate tu turun. Okay. So there are three explanation options, but there are two marks. Okay. There are two marks maximum. Okay, for that one. Anyway, so as long as you understand the discussion, that is what matters in Biobooster. Okay, so pastikan awak dapatkan konsep, alright, to help you prepare for your quizzes, to help you prepare for UPS, and to help you prepare if you watch this before exam, to help you prepare for your exam. Okay, alright. So now that's finished with structured questions. So now let's have a look at the essay questions. So the essay question start with question number 3. So explain the mechanism of allopatric speciation. Okay, all right. So this is the essay. Before I explain the essay, I would like to just give you a little bit of explanation. Okay, about allopatric speciation. Okay, so allopatric speciation is one mode of speciation. Okay, so it involves geographical barrier, okay, such as sea or river, okay, anything that prevent two subpopulation to meet with each other. Okay, all right. So it is a mode of speciation. Okay, so meaning all the factors of speciation that you have for genetic, reproductive isolation, genetic drift, hybridization, and also adaptive radiation. So all the factors, okay, can occur with or without geographical barrier. Okay, all right. So let's have a look how speciation, okay, with geographical barrier happen. Okay, so now the process of speciation takes a very long time to happen. Okay, to complete the formation of two species from the original species, it takes a long time. All right, and involve several events and factors. Okay, so let's begin. Let's look here. Okay, so this is the original beetle population. So just like human, with variations in color. Okay, skin color. Just that's how your beetle as well. Okay, so that's how your beetle as well. So this is the original beetle population with variation in colors. All right, so climate change can suddenly result in formation of geographical barriers. So we have already learned in your phosphorus cycle. Okay, so how your gunung ganang is formed. Okay, from geological uplift. Okay, alright, and then kita dah tahu juga kalau tengok National Geographic, okay, pergerakan plak tektonik boleh menyebabkan wujudnya lurah macam tadi lah, macam dalam Grand Canyon tadi. Okay, an example. Okay, so you have gunung in far away, okay, whereby the top of the gunung is covered by snow, and then climate change happen. Okay, it becomes warmer, so the snow begin to melt, and then dia akan turun and forming a river. Gitulah. Okay, so geographical barrier is formed. Okay, can form from climate change. Okay, so katakanlah tiba-tiba ada sungai kat sini. Okay, causing the population to be separated to form two subpopulation that can no longer meet with each other. Tak boleh jumpa disebabkan oleh dia terpisah oleh geographical barrier tersebut. Okay, so therefore yang belah kiri tak boleh nak mating dengan belah kanan tak boleh mating dengan belah kiri. Okay, so the population no longer acts as a single unit, so it forms two subunits. Okay, to form two subunits. All right, so and then they do not interbreed. Okay, all right, so that is considered as no longer able to randomly mate. Okay, can no longer randomly mate. So the interruption in gene flow happen. Okay, so quickly we know that, just because of the population can no longer interbreed with each other, okay, can no longer random mating, gene flow is interrupted. We know that it has already disobeyed, okay, Hardy-Weinberg assumption. Okay, random mating. Dia disobey yang itu. So no random mating. Okay, so quickly kita tahu the allele frequency and the genotypic frequency changing, okay, between the two subpopulations and also the new generation. Okay, so itu benda pertama. Okay, berlaku perubahan allele dan juga genotype frequency because of that, because of interrupted gene flow. Okay, no more random mating. Belah kiri tak boleh mating belah kanan tak boleh mating belah kiri. Okay, so itu benda yang pertama berlaku. Okay, alright. Dah berubah dia punya DNA kan? Okay, alright. And then, okay, over many years, okay, so katakanlah this river, okay, menyebabkan tanah dekat sebelah sini menjadi lebih subur, okay, tanah belah kiri menjadi lebih subur, dan tanah belah kanan menjadi lebih tandus. Okay, so jadi tanah belah kiri lebih subur, sebanyak grass, tanah belah kanan ni dia lebih tandus, so dia banyak pasir. Okay, so of course, okay, that environment will select for different organisms. Betul tak? Alright, so disebabkan ni belah kiri dengan belah kanan environment dia tak sama, so jadi they will select for different organisms. Okay, alright, so belah kiri tanah dia lebih subur, so dia lebih grassy, okay, lebih rumput. Okay, so jadi we know of course the beetle with the green color, okay, will survive better because of they able to camouflage better. Okay, kalau belah kanan ni tanah dia lebih tandus, so lebih berpasir, so of course we know that the beetles with yellow color, okay, better survive. Okay, so apa benda berlaku tu? Natural selection lah tu. Okay, alright. So tadi kita dah cakap no random mating kan. So dah langgar Hardy-Weinberg. Now selection happen. Dah lagi langgar Hardy-Weinberg. So lagilah dia punya allele frequency dan juga genotype frequency tersebut berubah daripada yang asal dan juga berubah antara kedua-dua subpopulation. So banyak DNA, perubahan DNA yang telah pun berlaku dan juga terkumpul. Over many years, okay, mustahil tak akan berlaku mutation. Okay, so over many years, mustahil tak akan berlaku mutation. So banyak kali dia langgar Hardy-Weinberg. So now, DNA dia berubah antara kedua-dua subpopulation tersebut dan juga yang asal. Okay, so now, in human, okay, tak payah tengok banyak generation. Tengok mak dengan bapa. Kalau anak dia Down syndrome, terlebih satu kromosom je pun. Okay, terlebih satu kromosom je pun. Okay, dapat beza tak mak dengan anak? Dapat beza tak mak dengan bapa? Mak dengan bapa. So bayangkan anak dia Down syndrome. Dapat beza, okay, terlebih satu kromosom je pun. Okay, so dapat beza ke tidak? Anak dengan parents. Dapat beza kan? Itu baru terlebih satu kromosom. Okay, dalam satu generation. Okay, alright, so bayangkan the DNA changes. The DNA has changed so much over many years because of those different events that I have just mentioned. No random mating, kemudian berlaku selection, kemudian berlaku mutation over many years. Of course, the DNA will change so much between the two subpopulation. Okay, so dia menjadi dua organism yang terlampau berbeza. Okay, sampailah satu tahap, okay, until one point they become so different. Okay, you try to get them mating again, okay, tak boleh mating pun, okay, or dia boleh mating tapi dapat anak yang sterile, ataupun dia tak boleh, ataupun dia boleh mating dapat anak, tak dapat, inilah tak viable pun anak dia. Okay, so jadi maksudnya kedua-dua subpopulation tersebut dah boleh dipanggil sebagai dua spesies yang baru, dua spesies yang berbeza. Okay, alright, boleh tak? Okay, so disebabkan oleh tadi ada sungai tadi lah. Okay, alright, so let's discuss the essay. Okay, alright, so allopatric speciation refer to the formation of new species from pre-existing species. By any speciation kan? Okay, is the formation of new species from pre-existing species due to the original population being separated by a geographical barrier. Okay, allopatric. Alright, such as river or mountain formed due to the changing environment. Okay, alright, so since the population is separated because of geographical barrier, interbreeding between individuals from the two subpopulation is prevented. Okay, so dah terpisah sebab oleh geographical barrier. Belah kiri tak boleh jumpa belah kanan. Kan? Belah kiri tak boleh jumpa belah kanan sebab ada geographical barrier tersebut. Okay, so the interbreeding between individuals from the two subpopulation is prevented, thus interrupting the gene flow. Alright, so over time, the two subpopulation will adapt to their respective new environment via the process of natural selection. okay, mutation will also occur, thus changing the allele and genotype frequencies between the two subpopulations. Sebab kita sebut ni semua benda-benda yang melanggar Hardy-Weinberg. So sebab tu allele and genotype frequency, okay, is changing, okay, between the two subpopulation. Okay, over a long time, the two subpopulation will accumulate enough change in their DNA. DNA dah terlampau berbeza. DNA antara kedua-dua subpopulation tersebut dah menjadi terlampau berbeza that they become genetically isolated from each other. Okay, alright, sampailah dia dah tak boleh. They can no longer interbreed and produce viable and fertile offspring. So therefore, the two species are formed. Okay, proses speciation telah pun berjaya. Therefore, two new species are formed from the pre-existing species. Okay, alright. So tadi macam ni juga population tersebut boleh terpisah. Okay, melibatkan geographical barrier. Okay, selain daripada yang inilah, selain daripada isolation yang ini. Okay, so in addition to that, allopatric speciation, okay, speciation yang melibatkan geographical barrier, can also occur when a small number of individuals migrate from their main population and colonize new areas such as an island. So ini adalah dalam genetic drift. Okay, awak punya founder effect. Okay, alright. So founder effect example, awak ada population of rats, okay, ataupun population of mice, okay, dekat tanah besar. Kemudian dia naik kapal, dia ikut human naik kapal, okay, kemudian dia pergi ke satu pulau yang tak ada rat pun dekat situ. Okay, so jadi dia establish a new population dekat situ. Alright. So jadi population yang baru yang sampai dekat awak punya dekat awak punya island tadi, okay, kan dia dah separated dengan yang tanah besar, yang mainland punya, disebabkan oleh adalah laut. Geographical barrier lah tu. Okay, alright. So that's how can also happen. Alright, so hopefully it helps a little bit with your understanding, okay, of this chapter. So let's have a look at the last question. Okay, so explain the effects of genetic drift. Okay, so genetic drift refers to the changes in allele frequency of the total number of gene in population due to chance. Okay, kalau due to chance, dia tak sama macam natural selection lah. Due to chance ni adalah secara tiba-tiba, dia tak ada basis, macam tiba-tiba lah. Okay, macam tu. Kalau macam tadi tu dalam case natural selection kan, kita belajar kenapa yang kulit hitam tu survive, kenapa yang kulit putih tu tak survive. Itu adalah okay, yang tu bukan by chance. Okay, disebabkan oleh dia ada, kenapa dia survive, sebab dia ada reason dia, disebabkan oleh dia protected from the sun, UV ray, bla bla bla. Yang kulit putih ni tak survive disebabkan oleh dia exposure to sun, menyebabkan dia itulah, okay, menyebabkan dia skin cancer dan sebagainya. Okay, itu ada reasoning. Due to chance adalah secara tiba-tiba dan tak ada basis. Example, okay, example dia. Okay, example dia nanti kita tengok lah. Okay, so there are two examples. Okay, it occurs in a small population, reducing the overall genetic variability and shifting the Hardy-Weinberg Equilibrium. Okay, dah ada berlaku dekat dalam small population. Dia dah langgar first punya Hardy-Weinberg assumption tu. So of course lah dia akan shift the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium of the population. Population to become no longer in equilibrium. There are two examples of genetic drift in a population, namely bottleneck effect and also founder effect. Okay, so bottleneck effect occurs in a small surviving population after a natural disaster such as tsunami or earthquake hits the original population. Okay, so bottleneck effect ni adalah berlaku dekat population yang telah pun survive. Survive natural disaster. Okay, so ini contoh yang by chance tu yang paling awak boleh relate lah. Sebagai contoh saya tanya lah, kenapa awak survive tsunami? Kenapa awak survive tsunami? Gitulah saya tanya, kenapa awak survive tsunami? Oh tak, sebab saya cantik, sebab saya ada fair skin. Boleh tak macam tu? Tak kan? Dia, siapa yang survive lah. Tak kisahlah awak membawa allele yang beneficial ataupun awak tidak membawa allele yang beneficial. So dia tak ada reasoning. Dia chance. Siapa yang survive. Okay, alright. So ini adalah contoh yang paling awak boleh relate. Okay, alright, itu maksud by chance. Kalau cerita pasal awak punya genetic drift, okay, occur by chance. Okay, dia tak ada basis. Okay, alright. In the surviving population, some alleles may be overrepresented, some alleles may be underrepresented, or some alleles might be eliminated completely from the original population, okay, than the original population, okay, jika dibandingkan dengan population yang asal. Okay, sebab dia ikut by chance. Siapa yang survive, survive. Siapa yang tak survive, tak survive lah. Okay, ikut ajal dia dah sampai ke belah. Okay, alright. So itulah punya bottleneck effect. So kalau founder effect occurs when a small number of individuals migrate and colonize a new area, thus becoming isolated from the main population. The allele frequency of the founder of the new area may not be the same as the original population. Okay, alright. So saya bagi contoh. Ini adalah punya bottleneck effect tadi kan. Saya nampak tak? Ini adalah pada populasi yang asal. Ada 3 warna marbles di dalamnya. Ada marbles kuning, marbles hijau dengan marbles merah. Okay, so but clearly, you can clearly see in the original population. Okay, yellow marbles is the dominant marbles, okay, yang paling banyak. Okay, and then followed by, kalau ikut sini, green, and then followed by red. Okay, alright. Kemudian bottleneck effect, so sama macam punya natural disaster. Siapa yang survive, survive. Siapa yang tak survive, tak survive. So, ikut sini lah macam bottleneck lah. Siapa yang terkeluar, keluar. Siapa yang tertinggal kat dalam, tertinggal. Okay, ikut. Alright. So this is the bottleneck event. Okay, natural disaster lah ini. Okay, so this is the surviving population. Tengok, in the surviving population, tengok siapa yang banyak keluar kat sini, warna merah. Padahal tadi warna merah tu yang paling sikit. Okay, so ikutlah. So, in the surviving population, some of the alleles are overrepresented. Maksudnya dia lebih daripada yang asal. Dalam yang asal tengok sini, merah sikit. Dalam yang asal, yang selepas population, selepas natural disaster, merah banyak. So, merah ni is overrepresented. Kemudian warna kuning, keluar satu je, is underrepresented. Okay, begitu juga warna hijau lah. Okay, tak ada, kali ni dia tak bagi contoh yang eliminated. Maksudnya kadang-kadang ada yang tak survive lah langsung. Jadi tak ada lagi pembawa allele tersebut. So jadi that allele is eliminated. Okay, alright. Possible saja. Okay, possible saja sebab dia completely by chance. Alright, so that's bottleneck effect. Kemudian ini adalah founder effect. So contoh founder effect adalah awak punya Amish community. So dalam Amish community ada yang child, ada ramailah orang yang ada 6 digits. Okay, so tangan ini kita boleh cari ada 5 kan. So Amish itu ada yang 6 digits. Okay, ada 6 jari. Okay, ada 6 jari. Okay, so why disebabkan oleh this Amish population dia adalah datang daripada Jerman yang settle down dekat Amerika. Okay, dia original population dia adalah 200 orang sahaja dan dia punya koloni tersebut, okay, orang-orang yang asal yang membentuk Amish community ni, dia ada high, dia pembawa kepada extra digits tu. Dia pembawa kepada allele extra digits tu. Okay, alright. So jadi kalau compare dengan original population, kalau compare dengan main population, okay, kalau dalam main population jumlah orang yang bawa allele extra digits tu rendah. Okay, tetapi yang 200 datang ke Amerika untuk membentuk Amish community tu, okay, the allele for extra digits tu is overrepresented. Boleh? Dia overrepresented. Dan orang Amish ni, dia live very conservatively. Dia adalah very, very religious people. So jadi dan dia live very, very simple. Okay, so orang sekarang pakai kereta kan? No, dia pakai kereta kuda. Dan pakaian dia very conservative. So dia very religious people lah. Okay, so jadi not many people want to come into the community because of the simplicity of the standard of living. Okay, so jadi tak ramai orang masuk dalam community tersebut. So jadi gene flow antara that community dengan the main population tak berlaku sangat. Okay, so dia cuma kahwin kat dalam tu sahaja. Okay, alright. So that's how dia punya. So jadi kalau gene flow antara community tersebut dengan yang main population tidak berlaku disebabkan oleh kalau yang Amish community ni dikahwin antara sendiri saja dan orang luar pun tak nak masuk kat dalam tu disebabkan oleh lifestyle. Okay, so jadi berlakulah juga situ kan interruption of gene flow. Betul tidak? So, jadi so dia punya allele frequency, okay, dekat Amish community berbeza jika dibandingkan dengan populasi yang the larger population. Okay, alright. So that's example of founder effect lah. Okay, so boleh nampak perbezaan antara orang Amish dengan the main population. Kalau the main population orang yang ramai adalah orang yang lima jari. Kalau dekat Amish population memang nampak orang enam jari itu normal. Okay, alright. So that's all. Okay, so I hope that this a little discussion have helped you to understand a little bit about chapter number 3. Okay, so I wish you good luck for your UPS, okay, for your exam whenever you watch this video. Okay, so please take care and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.